As we've discussed previously, Microsoft Dynamics 365 consists of several business intelligent applications, including marketing. The marketing work area within Dynamics 365 provides basic marketing features and gets you started with running marketing campaigns. The Dynamics marketing takes you to the next level by providing deep customer insights and behavioral data to help plan and analyze your campaigns, greater functionality for automation, and collaborating with team members, as well as social media integration. In this module, we're going to take a brief look at basic marketing functionality. So while we will not necessarily be going into each feature and functionality in great levels of detail, we will provide an overview of some of the built-in features. In this module, the objectives are to review the basic steps of the marketing process, to recognize how to plan and budget a marketing campaign, to examine marketing lists and how they can be used, as well as to identify when to use a quick campaign and when to use a marketing campaign. And then lastly, to discuss the purpose and elements of marketing campaigns. One of the keys to maintaining a customer base, as well as increasing the number of customers or clients an organization has, is to perpetuate your brand. Creating awareness about who you are, what you do, and what makes you different from other viable options involves identifying what you do well, developing your message, identifying who should get that message, getting it out there, and then tracking the effectiveness of that message. In other words, purposeful marketing is vital and can result in the development of a brand and get your organization's message to who needs it. By using marketing campaigns, marketing lists, and campaign templates, marketing employees can identify, execute, and replicate effective marketing initiatives across sales channels. So if we're going to take a look at the overall marketing process, how might this look if we're going to diagram it out? As you can see here, the diagram is a general flow of what might be involved in a marketing campaign. For example, when we first start off in a marketing campaign, oftentimes it starts with simple planning and budgeting. During this stage of a marketing campaign, you'll receive a budget, determine what your goals are, and so on, and within Dynamics 365, we can create campaigns that track this information. Now, once we've identified the goal and the budget of our campaign, we can start creating marketing lists. Marketing lists within the marketing application provides the ability to create very targeted groups of organizations, contacts, or even leads. Once you've identified the target audiences within the marketing application, you can create campaign activities. These activities could be anything from sending out numerous emails, or perhaps you're sending out letters, making phone calls, sending out tweets, Facebook posts, and so on. Once the campaign activities are determined and created, the next step would be to launch and manage the campaign. And then the final element to successful marketing campaign when using Dynamics 365 is to track the responses and analyze the data that's coming into the system. You can determine its success, potential success, or failure by utilizing the built-in reports or other reporting functionality to track the success of the campaign and even make adjustments as the campaign continues. As we've discussed in the marketing process, one of the first things we do when planning a marketing campaign within Dynamics 365 is to identify what our overall plan is, as well as the budget. One of the first things that happens in the development of marketing campaign is to form teams or users. In other words, identify which key users internal to your organization, as well as within Dynamics 365, that need to be involved with the planning process. Next is to define your goal. Now, that end goal could be something very financially related, such as to increase sales by a certain percentage, identify a number of prospects, or to accumulate a certain number of new customers. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure you identify what message do you want to send. In other words, what is the message you want to convey to your clients, your prospects, or your existing customers? The next step is to identify who your target audience actually is. Do you plan on marketing to existing companies, to the employees of those companies, existing contacts, or prospects? Perhaps it's all of these. Additionally, it's important to determine what your budget is. Your budget is clearly controls to some extent what you're able to do with your marketing plan. Once you've identified your goals, who your target audience is, how much money you have to spend, and so on, the next step is to plan out your marketing activities. Within Dynamics 365, once you create your campaign record, you've identified your financial goals, as well as who's going to be participating in the marketing campaign internally and who your target audience is. The next step is to plan out how are you actually going to literally reach out to them. Do you plan on doing a number of email blasts, or is it going to be social media related, letters, or etc.? This information helps you determine the cost and the value of the campaign, as well as provide the framework to evaluate budget versus actual dollars spent per activity. When finished with the activity, you can then update the actual cost. By tracking the cost, it can help assist in planning future activities and campaigns. One of the first key elements to understand when working with a marketing application is the creation and management of marketing lists. Within Dynamics 365, a marketing list can consist of accounts, contacts, or leads that share some of the same characteristics, such as a geographic region, a certain number of employees, leads that have registered with a specific or from a specific web form, or perhaps even companies within the same industry. One way to think of a marketing list, particularly as it relates to marketing campaigns, is a marketing list is really going to be your target audience. In other words, who are you going to focus upon for your marketing campaigns? As we mentioned previously, when creating marketing lists, you can only add the following 3 record types to a marketing list. They can be accounts, contacts, or leads. Once you've identified the member type on a marketing list, you cannot change that type after the marketing list has been created. In other words, when you're going about creating a marketing list, one of the key things you identify is which member type is going to be on that list. Additionally, you cannot mix and match member types on a particular marketing list. In other words, on a marketing list, I cannot combine accounts and contacts or contacts and leads or any other combination. I can only have one of these record types. So once you create the marketing list, you cannot change your mind and change it from accounts to contacts. It would be necessary to create a brand new marketing list. Now, when working with marketing lists, there are really 2 kinds of marketing lists. First is a static marketing list. With static marketing lists, list members will not change unless it's manually updated, and of course, you might look to update a static marketing list from time to time. Most of the time, though, it's typical that the members of a static list are not really driven by data. They're more subjectively added to the list. For example, you might have a marketing list called Top Customers or Best Prospects. Now, unless you have a data-driven way of identifying who the best customers are or a key customer, it's an arbitrary designation. So in some situations, the use of a static marketing list may be a vital part of your overall campaign strategy. The other kind of marketing lists you can use within the system are dynamic marketing lists. Like static lists, they contain a certain member type, being accounts, contacts, or leads. However, with dynamic marketing lists, the list members will always reflect the most current data. When we establish dynamic marketing lists, it's based upon a query we design within the system. For example, a dynamic marketing list may be automatically updated for all the accounts based in the city of Minnesota or Fargo or Seattle. As new accounts are added to the system with the appropriate city, they're automatically added to the dynamic marketing list. Now, as we mentioned earlier, it's important to remember that you cannot change the list type after the list has initially been created. So you cannot change the member type or the list type. That said, the general purpose for creating a marketing list is very, very simple. So if you make a mistake, it's very easy to simply go ahead and just create a new marketing list. While marketing lists are a key component of the marketing application, it's important to also understand some of the other basic elements, such as campaign activities. When working with marketing campaign records, campaign activities identify specifically how you're going to reach out to the people on your marketing lists. So if a marketing campaign consists of a multi-phased email campaign, you might have different campaign activities for each of the different emails. Next, there are planning activities. Simply stated, planning activities are similar to other activities within Dynamics 365. The difference, though, is planning activities help you organize all of the activities required to launch and operate a campaign. These are different steps or specific activities you would do that are part of the overall planning process. For example, if your marketing campaign was for a trade show, an example of a planning activity might include contacting the vendor to create brand new flyers, or perhaps signing a rental contract for a booth at the trade show. Additionally, in environments where the users are using the Dynamics 365 app for Microsoft Outlook, these activities appear as tasks in Outlook for the users to whom they are assigned. Then there are also target products. With a marketing campaign, oftentimes marketing professionals are targeting very specific group of products or specific products. If your organization uses the product catalog in Dynamics 365, you can add products to the campaign to make it simple for salespeople to view what the campaign is promoting and to help create specific reports showing campaign effectiveness. For example, the marketing team might be interested in knowing how many campaigns were run to promote a certain product over a certain period and how much revenue those campaigns generated. It's important to note that the use of products within campaigns is not a requirement, but rather a valuable option. Now, with sales literature, it's often thought of to be strictly part of the sales application. But it's possible to create sales literature documents and link them directly to marketing campaigns. Marketers can add sales literature files to a campaign to help salespeople find the information needed for effective customer follow-up. If you have a salesperson that is approached by one of their customers about a marketing campaign, they would have the ability to open up that sales literature and provide that documentation to the customer. Next, there are price lists. In some situations, when working with the marketing campaigns, marketing professionals may have special pricing offers specifically for a marketing campaign. So when the salespeople take the campaign responses and turn those into transactional records such as opportunities, quotes, orders, or invoices, those price lists can flow all the way through those transactional records as well. By utilizing price lists with marketing lists, when opportunities originated from a marketing list, pricing accuracy can be improved. And lastly is tracking campaign costs. As previously discussed, an important aspect of planning a marketing campaign is to identify your budget. Equally as important is to identify the costs. By tracking the costs within the system, it provides you the ability to analyze how you're doing versus your budget. So you can track what your actual costs were versus the marketing budget. Another kind of marketing campaign you'll encounter with the system is something called a quick campaign. The use of quick campaign allows marketers to use a wizard for a single activity campaign. When using the Quick Campaign Wizard, it simplifies the tasks of choosing an activity, assigning the activity to the appropriate user or users, filling in the details of the quick campaign, and distributing the activities. Additionally, quick campaigns are used for short-term efforts to distribute only one activity. For example, it is close to the end of a sales quarter and perhaps you're close to hitting your sales goals. A quick campaign can be used to identify all of the current customers with sales opportunities in a certain sales stage or have a certain probability. Then, based upon the analysis of the records, emails could be automatically sent to those customers to encourage them to speed up the decision-making process, or to try to offer them better pricing to entice them to close the deal before the end of the quarter. When creating quick campaigns, you have the ability to choose who owns the distributed activities. Going back to our previous example, let's say that you're the sales manager creating the quick campaign. In the process of designing the quick campaign, you want the emails automatically sent to the customers to appear as though they are sent from the salesperson that they've been working with that customer. During the distribution process of a quick campaign, it is possible to identify which users own those emails. In addition, you can also identify who owns an activity. Another example is perhaps the quick campaign is not sending emails, but rather it's generating phone call records for the salespeople to make. During that creation process, you can identify who owns those phone calls. You can identify yourself as the owner, or you can look at who's owning the record. In other words, who owns that specific account, contact, or lead. Or you can pick a specific user or simply just add them to a queue. After you create the quick campaign, Dynamics 365 creates and distributes the activities to the selected accounts, contacts, or leads. Once it's been created and distributed, the assigned user can view and take action on the campaign activities and the responses. The records for the customers can be viewed and reports can be run to analyze the effectiveness of that quick campaign. When it comes to working with campaigns, it's not uncommon for users to wonder what the difference is between a regular marketing campaign and a quick campaign. Well, let's discuss it in more detail. In a regular marketing campaign, you can distribute multiple activities. In comparison, a quick campaign can only distribute one activity. What this means is, with a regular campaign, you might have multiple phases of a marketing campaign where you are sending multiple emails and then following the emails up with phone calls, which will then be followed up with letters. With a quick campaign, it only involves one activity. Another difference is that within Dynamics 365, there are a number of built-in reports for marketing campaigns that allow you to do campaign analysis. With quick campaigns, however, they do not have any built-in reports. Now, it's important to note that not saying that you cannot create your own reports, there just aren't any default reports available. Another key difference is when you're working with marketing campaigns, you have the ability to create a campaign and save it as a template or launch new campaigns from existing templates or existing campaigns. With quick campaigns, you cannot create nor launch them as for or as from other templates. Additionally, when using the regular campaign functionality, marketing professionals have the ability to track financial information and track and measure the results against a total ROI. In comparison, quick campaigns have no ability to track your return on your investment. Another difference is with a regular marketing campaign, you have the ability to identify planning activities. In other words, what are some of the activities you need to do effectively or to effectively launch the campaign? When using quick campaigns, you don't have the ability to create planning activities. And finally, the last difference between a regular campaign and a quick campaign is that with a regular campaign, you can associate target products, price lists, and sales literatures as we've discussed previously. Whereas with quick campaigns, you do not have that ability to associate those record types. Now, it's important to note that both quick and regular campaigns allow users to create activities, to use marketing lists, and to view and track campaign responses. When working with both campaign types, when creating your campaign activities, you want to think about what are the touch points you really want to develop for that campaign. How do you want to communicate with your customers? How do you want to reach out to your leads, your accounts, and your contacts that are part of the overall marketing campaign? Campaign activities are, in most cases, the customer touch points. For example, you can use an email campaign activity to send emails to every member of a marketing list, or a phone call campaign activity can assign phone call activities to the sales representatives responsible for the contacts in that list. With that said, campaign activities fall into two categories. The activity specifies a channel of communication, such as an email, a letter, or a phone call, and the channel activities can be distributed. When a campaign activity is distributed, an activity record of the same kind is created. For example, when an email campaign activity is distributed, an individual email can be sent to each of the members of the marketing list and appear as if they've been sent from the users responsible for each contact record. When a phone call campaign activity is distributed, phone call activities will be created and can be assigned to the responsible account managers. Now, there are some situations where the kind of activities you are doing with a regular campaign may not involve direct touch points. These are referred to as non-channel activities. It might be a broadcast sort of marketing type of activity, such as a radio ad, a print ad, a billboard, social media, or even a TV ad. In these situations, you're not targeting a specific person or organization. They act as to-dos to track actions that must be performed during the campaign but are not distributed. All campaign activities, including non-channel activities, remain in the owner's activity list until they are changed to channel activities completed and then closed. So now that we know a little bit more about the components of a marketing campaign, let's take a look at how to create quick campaigns and regular marketing campaigns within the system. All right, so we're back within Dynamics 365. And in this demonstration, we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk through a couple things. We're going to take a look at how to create a quick campaign, as well as how to create a regular campaign. And in the process of using both of those campaigns, we're also going to look at how to create different marketing lists. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, first thing, one of the things I want to point out is if I go to my marketing business application, and from my marketing business application under the section called marketing, you'll see that I have an option there or a record type called quick campaigns. When I click on quick campaigns, you'll see that it will show any existing campaigns I have out there. But the one thing that you'll notice is under the command bar. When I look under the command bar, I don't have the option to create a new quick campaign. The reason being is quick campaigns are used to be able to create very quickly and very easily. So instead, we actually want to be able to create a quick campaign off of a marketing list. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to create a marketing list. So again, I'm going to go under my applications. From my marketing application, I'm going to choose marketing lists. And then from here in my command bar, I'm going to go ahead and click on new. All right, so in this example, let's say I want to be able to create a list of members that I want to be able to market to for end of quarter sales promotions. So to be able to do this, I'm going to call this one, as far as the marketing list name, we're going to call this, let's say, for example, sales promotion for end of quarter. Now, from here, you'll see that I can choose my list type next. And as we discussed previously, you'll see we have two options, either being static or dynamic. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as static. You'll also see I have the ability that if I want to, I can put in the purpose of this marketing list, and I can add a detail so that if anyone else decides that they want to be able to use this marketing list, they'll know what the goal of this marketing list is. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just leave that blank. In the targeted ads, this is where we now have our target audiences. As we talked about, our target audiences or record types are accounts, contacts, or leads. For our example, we're going to go ahead and have that set to being account. Now, once we have that as being set to account, you'll see that we can put in source, we can even have currencies, we can either enter cost information. For right now, we're going to go and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and save this marketing list. And when I save the marketing list, you'll now see I have the ability to add members to this marketing list. And again, because it's static, it means that the list of members is not going to change. If we had it set to dynamic, depending on the parameters that I had to set up what members I want to add to this marketing list, then it could change consistently or regularly depending on what my parameters were. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus sign. And when I click on the plus sign, because this is a static marketing list, I have several options to use to decide how I want to add my members. So I could use the lookup. And when I click continue, I could now go in and look up each one of the accounts that I want to be able to add and manually click the checkbox next to each one of them, click the select, and be able to manually add those accounts to my list. Now, the other option I can also do is I can tell it to do or use the advanced find functionality. So we're going to go ahead for this exercise because I want to be able to just focus on just those accounts that have open opportunities in this quarter or potentially estimated to close for this quarter. I'm going to go ahead and I want to be able to search for those records using a certain type of criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and select Add using Advanced Find. I'm going to click on Continue. And then when I do so, you'll now see that the Advanced Find window is going to open up. Now again, this is not meant to be an exercise on how to use the Advanced Find functionality, and I know we've touched on this briefly. But you'll see that what it will now allow me to do is it will allow me to go through and now create filters. So it might be that I want it to where my Advanced Find, the status is going to be where I'm only focusing on my active accounts. And then for any related accounts, you'll see that I can have not only the list of all current fields available for my account, but if I continue to scroll down, I have a related section. So this is where it will allow me to query related record types that are associated to my accounts. So if I continue to scroll down, you'll see that I have the option for my opportunities. So I can go in and select opportunities, and then off of my opportunities, I can have it where I want same thing. The status is equal to open, and where the estimated close date is going to be, and this is where you'll see that I can now use different criteria. So let's just say I want to have it for being this month. You'll also see if I want to go through, I can even do it on the next 7 days, next month, last month, next week, next several months as necessary. So if I can do it as far as, let's say, the next 3 months, or let's even say on this particular one, let's say that we're going to do this for let's say we're going to do this for the next 2 months. So I can actually now come in and say, I want to see if we have any opportunities for any of my active customers where the estimated close date is in the next 2 months. So you'll see I have the find functionality down here that I can search for those records. And when I find those records, you'll now see I have several of them that are potentially looking to close within the next 2 months. So what I can now do is to be able to add those. I can either come in and manually select each one of those, or down here, as you'll see, I can tell it to add all the members returned by this list to the marketing list. So by selecting that and then click on Add to Marketing List, you'll now see it adds all of those members to my marketing list. So once I have the marketing list set up, now what I can do is you'll see that I have the option of being able to either add a new campaign or add a quick campaign. So in this particular example, we're going to walk through a quick campaign. So when I click on the plus sign for quick campaigns, you'll now see that a wizard is going to load for us. So a couple of things it's going to ask us on the wizard is to give it a name, select the activity that we want to perform, because again, as a reminder, a quick campaign only performs one activity, and then who I want to assign that activity to. And then I can actually then build by activity as necessary. So when I click on next, we're going to call this one end of quarter sales promotion email. And then we click next. And on this particular one, I am going to go ahead and choose email. So I'm choosing the activity type. And then the next step it's going to say is who do I want to assign this to? So you'll see the options that I have is I can tell it, I can assign it to the owners of the records that are included in that quick campaign. So it might be that not only am I the owner of some of those records, but I might have multiple account managers. And so I can have it to where the email looks like it's going to be sent from them. Now, I can also, if I want to, assign it to a specific user or team, or even add it to the queue. For this particular case, though, I'm going to go ahead and assign these activities to me. Now, you'll also see that down at the bottom, one of the other options I have is I can tell it to mark the email messages as being sent and close the corresponding emails. But if I want to be able to go in and manually or personally edit the messages before I send them out, I can deselect that checkbox. In fact, I'm going to go ahead for this exercise and we're going to leave that deselected. So now, once we do that, I can click on next. And so now the next step is to build or create that email. Now, one of the options I can do is if I wanted to, and if we have an existing email template out there, I can check the box and I can tell it to use an existing email template. So you'll notice that under the global, when it comes to marketing, for global templates, they sit, or so for marketing, they sit under the global templates. You'll also see that I can look at account templates. Now you'll also notice that I actually have one created out there that we can use. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this particular one called Sales Promotions on Existing Products. So I'm going to go ahead and select that email template. And once I have it selected, again, the whole point of having that email template is that I can now go ahead and send out the email. Now, if I wanted to be able to see to make sure that that's the right email template, you'll notice that I can click on the link and drill down and look at that template. But once I have that set up, I can go ahead and just click Next. And you'll now see that it's going to specify what it's going to do. And then once it's done, you'll now see that it will create that quick campaign and it will locate that and now put that under our quick campaign. So when I click on Create, it's now going to go through the process of creating that quick campaign. So going through and taking a look at that, if I go back up to my marketing application, I go to Quick Campaigns, you'll now see that I actually have it out there. And when we take a look at it, directly from my view, you'll see that it shows the email activity type, the total number of members, total number of successes, failures, and completed. So if I actually click on the subject to open my quick campaign and taking a look at it, you'll see it shows the number of successes, the number of failures, and then if I click on activities, this is where you'll now see that I actually have the various emails that have been sent to each one of the members that were in that marketing list. And to be able to go in and actually take a look at the email itself, I can click on the pop-out to open up that activity. And here's the original email. Now, it's still set in draft mode because I told it that I wanted to go in and I wanted to edit this before I sent this out. So as I'm going through and I'm actually setting this up, you'll now see that a couple of things that I did on this particular one is I actually just have it very generic. If you're deciding on what's time to make a decision on new purchase, we actually have a 25% discount on all electronics. But you'll also see that you have the ability to even have an unsubscribe feature. So that as part of building that actual email, you can tell it to insert an unsubscribe link. And so when they click on it, when they go through and they actually click on that unsubscribe link, it will actually send a response back for them to be unsubscribed from that marketing list. So go ahead and close out of there. So again, as far as looking at that information, you'll see that I can see all of the actual emails that have been sent and those selected members that it was sent to. So again, on this particular one, this quick campaign is considered to be done and the status was set to being completed because the emails were sent and they're now ready to move on for our next quick campaign. So moving on, what we'll go ahead and we'll do now is I'm going to go ahead and close out of there and we'll take a look at and just show very briefly on what the difference is between using a quick campaign and just using a regular marketing campaign. All right, so to take a look, the difference between the quick campaigns and just a regular campaign is the concept pretty much is the same. We build our marketing lists and then we decide as far as what our budget's going to be able to track our costs associated to it. The only difference is with our regular campaign, we just have more options. In other words, we can create multiple campaign activities. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, again, under our marketing module, we're just going to go to our campaigns. And you'll see that we have several campaigns that are already out there, or sample campaigns that are available for us. So before we go in and we actually start our campaigns, again, we need to think about who's going to be our target audience. Who are we looking to actually target? So what we want to go ahead and do is, in fact, we'll go back to, and we're going to create another new marketing list. Now on this particular one, I want to go ahead and I want to be able to introduce the new product line. So to be able to do this, again, I'm going to create a new marketing list. And the name for this one might be, let's say, for example, promotion end of year conference. And this time, the list type I want is going to be dynamic. So I want the list that I have or the members that I'm going to have in that list to update depending on the criteria that or the parameters that I specify. Now on this particular one, I am going to go ahead and we're still going to have this as being accounts. Now I could go in and actually set this up as being contacts, but for this one, what I'm going to focus on and what my goal is I want to be able to go in and just have a list of all active accounts, or let's say even contacts, where they have open or won opportunities. In other words, if they've done business with us at some point or another, that we have open or won opportunities, I want to be able to create a list of those members. So in being able to go in and do so, again, looking at this marketing list, I can go in and specify the source if I want to. I can put in a cost. So let's say that we think this cost is going to be, let's say, $750. And then you'll see that it will automatically allow us to track the last time this was used. So again, if there's going to be ongoing marketing lists, so if we have, let's say, regular webinars that we want to promote, or regular offers or promotions that we promote on a regular basis, so that's where we can either lock this down as necessary or continue to reuse this, as we talked about, almost as if we can use this as a template or even have campaigns and be able to use the same marketing list on multiple campaign types. So again, once we have this set up, we have our cost. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to save this marketing list. And once I actually have this marketing list saved, again, I'm going to add the members. Now, what you'll notice is because I have this as being a dynamic list, when I click on the plus sign this time, I'm not prompted to choose whether or not I want to use the advanced lookup to be able to add them. It automatically assumes that I want to be able to go through and I want to be able to add them. So again, I want to be able to do this where I just want active accounts. So we're going to have it where my status is equal to active. And then again, similar to the last one, we're going to go down to the related records, and I'm going to go down to my opportunities. And under my opportunities, again, the status that I'm looking for is not just one or not just open, but both open and one, which again, the goal of this should return every account that we have done business with or have potentially done business with who is still considered an active account. So you'll see I can go in, click on Find to see the results that we're going to get, and you'll see I've got 16 records that are here. So I can go ahead and click on Use Query, and you'll see that as soon as I come in, I can now have all 16, and if we scroll through, I can go in and see all 16 of those members. Now, one of the things that you'll also see you can do when it comes to members and working with marketing lists is next to the plus icon, I also have the ability of looking at the associated view. So on this associated view, I have all of these current members. And one of the things that you'll see that you have the option of being able to do is not only export that marketing list and be able to choose how you want to export it, but I can also manage these members. So if I wanted to, this is now because we have this as being a dynamic marketing list, I can go through and be able to change the criteria that I want to use. Now, if necessary, you'll also see that within that marketing list, I can go in and manually select various members of that list. And then from here, I can manage them. And being able to update this as we just walked through. If I wanted to write from this list, I have the ability of creating an opportunity, or even from this list, I can add it to another marketing list. So I can go through and literally take members from one marketing list and move them to another. All right, so we're going to go back to our main marketing list. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our marketing list that we have up in our navigation bar. And once we're back in our marketing list, let's say instead of doing the promotion for year-end conference, let's say I want to actually, we're going to change this. And let's say I want to do this as being a promotion for a new product launch. So we'll do this as being off the new product launch. Now, that being said, the name of it is different, but the intention is still the same, that anyone who has open or won opportunities, they're still going to be my target audience for this particular promotion or for this particular marketing campaign. So once we actually have this saved, then I want to go ahead and we're going to close out of here. Once we close out of here, we're going to go back up to our marketing business application and we're going to go to our campaigns. And you'll see it as far as what we have with our campaigns, that there are actually several sample campaigns that are out there. So instead of going through and creating a new campaign, in fact, you'll see that there is actually one out there called Product Launch. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up that existing campaign. Now, in going through and taking a look at this, and again, just to kind of show you that as of right now, the name is just called Product Launch. The campaign type is set to Other. And with the campaign set to Other, as of right now, that we can go through and we can change who we want to be able to, or what campaign type that we want to be able to use. So let's say on this particular one, we want to change this to an advertisement. In other words, we want to have this as being a teaser email for the new product launches that we're going to be releasing as of the first of the year. So in being able to go through and look at this campaign, you'll see some of the options that I have is I can go in and let's say that I can even put in what my expected response is going to be. So with my campaign response, let's say that I'm hoping that as a goal, if we can get 30% response off of this campaign, it would be considered a successful campaign itself. I can even go in and set up schedules. So if I think as far as when I want this to start, so let's say that we'll have it, let's change that. And let's say that we're going to have it end at the end of the year. So it's going to be a short campaign that we're doing. and we're going to have it start as well. Now you'll see as far as some of the additional details from here, we can actually incorporate the marketing list that we want to be able to use. And then one of the things that we can do is, so if we now have that marketing list out there, I can click on the plus sign. And when it comes to working with the campaigns, I have the ability of being able to, off of this marketing campaign, to be able to use both marketing campaigns or marketing lists that we have out there. Now you'll notice that it basically says, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to do it to the campaign and all undistributed activities, or to the campaign only? So we're going to kind of leave it as the default. Now, as far as going through and looking at this, again, you'll see that I can even go through and like on this particular example, that I have a lead that is currently associated because it's one of the leads that I had set up initially as being one of the other demos, and I had linked it to this marketing campaign. So you'll even see that that lead will show up and be tracked against this marketing campaign as well. But once we have this set up, what I can now do is, now that I have what my campaign is, what type of campaign it is, and then I can even go in and put in as far as my estimated revenue, what my schedules are. Now I can go in and set up my campaign activities. So again, this is where the difference between a quick campaign and a regular campaign is I can have multiple campaign activities. So if we're going to have, let's say, staggered emails, that as it gets closer to that production or that product launch, I might want to send out 2 or 3 more emails. So on this particular one, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to create a new campaign activity. And on this new campaign activity, you'll see I can give it the subject. So let's say that I want this to be an email teaser for new product launch. And then you'll see as far as which campaign that we're using it for. I can even go in and specify the type. So let's say that this is the direct initial contact. So we might have initial contact, and then you'll see some of the other options that we have is follow-up contact, email distribution, lead qualification, target marketing list creation, contact preparation, and so on. And again, these are the default options that are available out of the box. Now you'll also see that basically your channel is what kind of activity do you want to be able to do. So we have our standard activities, our standard out-of-the-box activities, such as phone, appointment, letter, fax, email, email via email merge, or even other. And again, that other might be that if we're doing a non-channel activity, being a broadcast or a TV ad or a Facebook post or tweet as necessary. So this is where I can now go in and I can choose as to what it's going to be. So if this is going to be my email, I can come in and we'll actually set up the channel. We can have even the scheduled start date and the scheduled end date for this particular activity. And then once we do so, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to save this activity. And you'll see that while we're saving this particular record, you'll even see that in my allocated budget, I can go through and set up an allocated budget and an allocated cost as necessary. So once I have this activity set up, this is now where, as I'm ready, I can come up and I can click on distribute the campaign activity. And so once I go through and I select distribute the campaign activity, this is again where I can now choose who it's going to be from. And then I can draft my email. Now, just like we talked about as far as using our quick campaigns, I do have the ability of also, if I wanted to be able to use a template. But as far as going through and being able to go in and set this up, this is where you'll see that even from my header, you'll see I can go in and set up my header information. and I can now type in my email as necessary. So we'll say new product is launching soon. Are you ready? The unveiling will occur in the next week or two. And we'll leave it as that. So basically, once we have that set up, this is now when I'm done drafting my email, or again, using the email template, I can simply just click on Distribute. And when I click on Distribute, you'll now see that it's going through and allows me, just like we saw before, of what we want to do. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to leave those open, of who we want to assign it to, just like as we walked through before. And then again, if I mark this as being closed, it will automatically close that email activity for me. So we'll go ahead and we'll close that. Click on Distribute, and you'll now see that what it will do is it will go through and start generating and sending out that email. So if I go over to Activities, you'll now see that it's creating those activities for me. And it's now doing it for everyone that we have in that marketing list. Now, what we also talked about is, let's say that if we go in, I'm going to actually take a look at that activity. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop that activity and pop that email record out. And in looking at this, you'll see here's the example that was sent out. And again, by default, one of the things that we can now do is, regardless if it's a phone call or if it's an email, in that email, I have the ability of choosing Convert To, and I can go in and tell it to convert to Promote to Response. So if I wanted to, off of this email, and let's say that they responded to it, I can go Convert To, Promote to Response, and what that will now do is now create this as being a campaign response. And in looking at this, you'll now see there's the subject, the customer is automatically populated, and then over on my details, this is now where I can say whether they're interested, not interested, or do not send any more marketing emails. Or if it's the wrong, let's say I got an undeliverable bounce back, I can go in and even select error. So once they're going in and set as being error, I now have this as being my campaign response. And then from here, I can go ahead and save and close. So now the marketing managers can go in and take a look at how successful were those particular campaigns. And from here, we can now go in and you'll now see we have our campaign activities, we have our details, our administration, and then we can even go in and be able to look at any responses. And then as we've talked about, as necessary, I can go in and run certain reports to be able to see the campaign performance of how well we did on this particular campaign. In our previous demonstration, we walked through how to quickly create a campaign response, but let's discuss in a little bit more detail about what they are and how they work. As we've discussed, the goal of any marketing campaign is to create measurable results to track and report on. In Dynamics 365, campaign results are captured as campaign responses. A campaign response is simply a response to a campaign activity where a customer or potential customer has indicated their level of interest, such as they're interested, not interested, or to be removed from the marketing list. Now, the reason why campaign responses are so important to the overall functioning of Dynamics 365 marketing is because they bridge the connection between sales and marketing. Campaign responses within the system are a mechanism that allows salespeople to interact with the marketing campaign data. And based on how they interact with it, the data feeds into the reporting for the marketing managers. Additionally, campaign responses can be converted into leads, qualified leads, opportunities, quotes, or orders. Now, when working with campaign responses, there are a number of different ways that campaign responses can be created. Some of them are by simply manually creating a new campaign response. For example, if you're a salesperson and you receive a phone call regarding the campaign, you have the ability of going into Dynamics 365 and from the activities area, you have the ability to create a campaign response record. Now, it's also possible to promote a distributed campaign activity, such as a phone call, into a response. Now, keep in mind, it's not just phone calls, it's any other kind of activity such as emails, letters, faxes, and so on that can be automatically converted into a campaign response as well. Now, let's say you have a vendor that's running the campaign for your organization. It could be possible for them to fill out a template with the details of the campaign response, and then an administrator or someone else within the organization would have the ability to import those campaign responses directly into the system and have Dynamics 365 auto-generate the campaign responses. Now, another way that campaign responses can be created is through email. So if a prospect, account, or contact respond to an email generated from the marketing campaign, the response can automatically be converted into a campaign response. Keep in mind, this option is only available if email tracking is enabled, which is a setting that your administrator can make in the system setting configurations. Now, when working with campaign responses, it's always important to note that the management of campaign responses does not necessarily have to be done by salespeople. Once created, marketing professionals or whomever within an organization may designate the management of campaign responses appropriately based upon the content of the campaign response record. When creating campaign responses, they can be assigned to another user or even a team. It's also important to note that only open campaign responses can be converted. Also, we talked about earlier, when creating campaign responses, we have the ability to turn those into leads, opportunities, or other transactional records. And it's possible to edit the response, such as to add notes or attachments, but keep in mind, once you close a campaign response, you no longer have the ability to convert that into any other record type or to make any other edits. So we discussed how Microsoft Dynamics 365 enables you to extend the effectiveness of your marketing department. Some of the tools it uses to make it easier for your marketing staff to take advantage of the customer data you already have include marketing campaigns, marketing lists, and even campaign templates. By utilizing the marketing business application, marketing employees have the ability to identify, execute, and replicate effective marketing initiatives across different sales channels. In this module, the objectives were to review the basic steps of the marketing process, to recognize how to plan and budget a marketing campaign, to examine marketing lists and how they can be used, as well as to identify when to use a quick campaign and when to use a marketing campaign, and to discuss the purpose and elements of marketing campaigns, as well as how to analyze the proper way to apply campaign responses.